So, Srila Gurudev, His Holiness Sri Krishna Goswami has a meeting, so that's why I'm here instead of him today. And I'm really honored to have the opportunity to be able to give class on such a wonderful, wonderful topic as Krishna and his cows in the Vrindavan forest. So as I usually ask everyone, I'm going to say it again. Don't be in North Carolina, but come with me to Vrindavan and experience the beautiful pastimes of Lord Krishna in the forest of Vrindavan. Are there any little teeny cartels? Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Hari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Hari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Panachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabiyari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Panachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhavagacharya Sutra Satashi Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Bhavagacharya Sutra Satashi Shrimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. Namachar Sridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavana Dham Ki Jai. Smutur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Shri Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Shri Mati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Today, we are continuing on with our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Spotless Purana, and we are on Canto 10, Chapter 20, and we will be reading from text number 26. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Danavo Mandagamina Udo Bharanabhushasha Yayor Bhagavat Tatu Yayor Bhagavat Taputa Dutam Pritya Snutas Danaha Danavo Mandagaminya Udho Bhadanabhuyasya Yayor Bhagavatam Tato Tuta Dutam Pritya Snuta Stanaha. Devotees, Danava Mandagamina Unisa Yayor Bhagavatam Tuta Dutat Pritasnutas Tataha. Anyone else? Danavo Mandagamina Yo Bhagavadatudyata Dutam Pritasnuta Dutam Pritasnutas Tatanaha Dinavo Maginanapa. The cows. Manda kaminaya. Moving slowly. Udha. Of their udders. Barena. Because of the weight. Bayasa. Very great. Yayu. They went. Bhagavata. By the Lord. Abuddha. Being called. Drutam. Quickly. Pricha. Out of affection. Snuta. Wet. Stanaha. Their udders. Translation. The cows had to move slowly because of their weighty milk bags, but they quickly ran to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as he called them. Their affection for him causing their udders to become wet. You can repeat. The cows had to move slowly because of their weighty milk bags, but they quickly ran to the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as he called them. Their affection for him causing their udders to become wet. Purport. Srila Prabhupada comments, the cows being fed by new grasses became very healthy and their milk bags were very full. When Lord Krishna called them by name, they immediately came to him out of affection, and in their joyful condition, the milk flowed from their bags. Om Gana Timidandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyana Tasmai Shri Guruve Nama Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Vidananda Viswaniti Namane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastastarine. So offer my respectful obeisances unto all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. And there's so many wonderful things to say about this verse, although it's a small verse and a small purport. And I will be reading the commentary. I'll be reading from the Light of the Bhagavat, and also some different quotes that give us an understanding of the appearance of Krishna's cows and Krishna's affection. So, as I said at the beginning of this class, let us enter into Vrindavan forest. So, we had read previously about the scorching sun of the summer season, and there was a great fire that took place, and Lord Krishna himself, in order to save the cows and the cowherd boys, he had swallowed that fire. So throughout the pastimes coming to this point, we see how the cows are always involved. Krishna's going out with Balaram and his friends, taking the cows out to the forest of Vrindavan. And we have been focusing on Krishna's pastimes with his friends in the forest of Vrindavan. How they were taking lunch together, how the cows and the cowherd boys were stolen by Lord Brahma, how so many demons were slain. So this was the focus. And as I spoke about earlier, this brings us to a change in Krishna's pastimes, where the amorous desires within the hearts of the gopis have developed. It's called Purvavag, and Krishna himself is becoming quite attractive. So this rainy season and the autumn is setting, as we were speaking yesterday, it's setting the backdrop. Just like when we're dressing the deities, if we have a backdrop that clashes, it's not very attractive. But if we have a beautiful backdrop, then the backdrop is not meant to take away from the focus on the deities or the beauty of the deities, the same way the flower vases or the jewelry. It's all meant to add to the beauty. So this forest of Vrindavan, which is been nourished by the rainy season has become very luxurious. And as we read yesterday, there's wonderful fruits everywhere and flowers, and the grasses are very, very green. So how cows love to have fresh green grass. And when they have that fresh green grass, and when they're treated with love and devotion and affection, they give a lot of milk. So the cows, they were enjoying, for Krishna's pleasure, all this grass. Because the cows, they're not ordinary cows, but these cows, their only desire is to give pleasure to Krishna. That my milk should be used to make butter or curd or yogurt for Krishna's pleasure. So the cows have so much affection for Krishna that when he calls them by their names, they come running. And this milk that they give, it's not ordinary milk that can be put in a scientific lab and had the different nutrients analyzed. But this milk is the milk of praying. This is the milk of love. And so when Krishna takes that milk, he is reciprocating with the love of the cows. Just like when the mother gopis, the older gopis, they gave Krishna their milk. They were giving their love to Krishna. So yesterday, I found out later I was giving this verse, and on my way home, I immediately thought, let me call the devotee who is the encyclopedia and great researcher, because I didn't have on hand the name of Krishna's cows. So I immediately called Mother Irmala here, Irmala Devi Dasi, and asked her, what are the names of Krishna cows? So I very nicely got an email back, so I'd like to read from that, and I'd like to thank you for your help with this. Krishna had many thousands of cows. I want you to really concentrate on this. This is very important. They were divided into groups according to their colors. So there's thousands and thousands of cows, because Nanda Baba, he's the king of Vrindavan, and he's got many, many, many thousands of cows. They were also differently named according to color. So just like downstairs in the deed room, we have all the clothes hanging according to color. So the cows are named according to color. When he would prepare to return from the pasturing ground, he would gather all the cows. So he's coming home at night. We always hear about Krishna coming home. And all the residents of Vrindavan, they've been waiting all day. And they're waiting, when will that dust come rising over the Yamuna? You know, they're peeking out. They're anxious to see Krishna. As Vaishnavas count 108 beads, which represent 108 individual gopis, so Krishna would also count on 108 beads to count the different groups of cows. Krishna book, chapter 35, the gopis' feeling of separation. Then from Srimad of 10:35:19 by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Vishnu Chakravarti, in his 17th century commentary on this verse, wrote, thus, being called by name, the cows are coming forward, and Krishna thinking that when it is time to bring them back from the forest, none should be forgotten, is counting them on his jeweled beads. So how much affection Krishna has that he's chanting the name of the cows on his jeweled beads, and he doesn't want to forget anyone. So believe it or not, Krishna doesn't want to forget you either. He wants you to come, and he's calling your name, but somehow or other we're looking the other direction. 10:35:18-19, Srimad Bhagavatam. Now Krishna is standing somewhere, counting his cows on his string of gems. He wears a garland of tulsi flowers that bear the fragrance of his beloved, and he has thrown his arm over the shoulder of an affectionate cowherd friend. As Krishna plays his flute and sings, the music attracts the black deer's wives, who approach that ocean of transcendental qualities and sit down beside him. Just like us cowherd girls, they've given up all hope for happiness in family life. So the gopis, they have so much love for Krishna And one kind of ecstasy that they have is that they see everyone else as having their love. Whatever they're feeling, they're thinking someone else, they're feeling them. So when they're looking and they see the deer, they're thinking, oh, these deer, they're feeling just like this. But they're actually expressing their own feeling, how they've given up all happiness for family life. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami explains that in the afternoon, Sri Krishna dressed himself in a different outfit and then went out to call the cows home. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti gives the following information about the transcendental cows of Vrindavan. So listen very nicely. This is a beautiful meditation. For each of the colors of cows, white, red, black, and yellow, there are 25 subdivisions, making a total of 100 colors. And such qualities as being colored like sandalwood pulp, tilak, speckled, or having a head shaped like a mridanga drum, create 8 further groups. To count these 108 groups of cows, distinguished by color and form, Krishna is using a string of 108 jeweled beads. It would actually be nice to have a backdrop painted with not just the normal-looking cows, but with the cows from this description. You can tell I was just in the pujari room because all of my examples are coming from the pujari room. Whatever you put in will come out. So fortunately, I wasn't, looking at the news, but I was in the pujari room looking at backdrops and outfits. Thus, when Krishna calls out, "Hey, Diwali," the name of a white cow, a whole group of white cows come forward. And when he calls Hamsi, Chandani, Ganga, Mukta, and so on, the 24 other groups of white cows come. The reddish cows are called Aruni, Kumkuma, Saraswati, etc. The blackish ones, Shamala, Jumala, Ramuna, etc. And the yellowish ones, Pitta, Pingala, Haritalika, etc. Those in the group with tilak marks on their foreheads are called Chitrita, Tilaka, Diga Tilaka, and Tirak Tilaka. And there are groups known as Mirdanga Mukti, Mirdanga head. See, everything's just so joyful. Simha Mukhi, lion head, and so on. Everything is very descriptive. Thus, being called by names, the cows are coming forward, and Krishna thinking that when it is time to bring them back from the forest, none should be forgotten, is counting them in his jeweled beads. So, such a beautiful meditation. Krishna has dressed himself again for calling the cows back, and he's looking quite attractive. And he has his jeweled beads, and so that he doesn't forget anyone, he's counting on his beads. So when we chant in our japa beads and we put down the different counters, we can remember how we're calling Krishna, how we're calling Radha. From Ananda Vrindavan Champu. Just as a king's palace has numerous doors, the Goshalas had many splendid doors, and they are dust-free and devoid of breezes. Standing in the yards of the Goshalas are the best of cows, which are as white as the full moon and have horns as dark as peaks of blue sapphires. The thick, bushy tails of these cows resemble the long hair of the ladies of Vrindavan. Ladies of Vrindavan had very long, beautiful black braids. Upon seeing Krishna, the cows overwhelm with joy and lift up their tails. This looks as splendid as the effulgence of Bhagavan's chakra as it cuts down the demons. So how beautiful is this loving reciprocation of Krishna and his cows. Just as a person bows down to respect the holy waters for tirtha, similarly the heads of the cows hang down due to the heavy, thick folds of skin under their necks. Their full milk bags resemble the rotund body of Ganesh. Ganesh has got like a big stomach. Like the mind, these cows are independent and cannot be easily bound. So the mind cannot easily be bound, but Krishna calls his cows and puts down the beads on his counter. So the way to conquer our mind is to call Krishna's name and pull down Our counter beads. The cows in Vrindavan are called Kamadhenus because they fulfill all desires just like Chintamani trees. As the summer season is ornamented with blooming Kutaja flowers, the cows are decorated with happy calves. So this was Prabhupada's vision. Prabhupada wanted cow protection. And we won't have time to read all the letters, but there's many, many, many letters where Prabhupada says Krishna took the form of a cowherd boy. And he was going out every day bringing the cows to pasture. And Prabhupada was saying, as long as the cows aren't protected, as long as the cows are being mistreated, he said then there will be no peace within society. There'll be pestilence, there'll be disease, there'll be fighting. And all this actually, Prabhupada explains, is coming because of the slaughter of cows. And then you might say, well, this isn't logical. And we were speaking in our discussion group last night with Drista that you can't really understand all spiritual matters logically, but you can understand that Krishna loves the cows. And he says so. And he takes his appearance amongst the cowherds to show us the importance of cow protection. And then there's a practical aspect of it, the benefits of properly of milk that comes from cows that are giving their milk out of love, like these cows are giving to Krishna, and their calves are there. And that feeds the brain tissues, Prabhupada said, and the ghee is used for sacrifice, and also the bulls are used to clear the land. So it's a whole society that was based around cow protection. The huge bulls look like crystal boulders or big waves in the ocean of yogurt. Sleeping peacefully in their pens, they look like ancient sages in meditation. Like liberated souls, they freely wander here and there. The huge horns resemble the tusks of the directional elephants. The high humps on their backs resemble the parasol fans held above a king. Actually, there was one I just skipped about one paragraph here. Literary embellishments increase the sweetness of skillfully written poems. Similarly, the varieties of multicolored cows beautify the goshalas. The goshalas are alive with herds of calves jumping about. So cute to see the calves jumping. These adorable calves look like clumps of foam from milk ocean, spots of moonlight cast on the ground, or ice boulders from Mount Kailas trembling along the earth. They are the purest of offerings to the demigods. So this again is from the Ananda Vrindavan shampoo. With their red eyes and slow movements, they appear stunned like intoxicated persons. When the bulls let out a loud bellow, it sounds like the boisterous talk of proud men. The skin folds flapping around their necks resemble the long blankets draped over the banks of renunciants. Due to fleeting the light from the domes of the jeweled palaces, it looks like their horns are multicolored. When a whirlwind stirs up the jeweled earth to cover the bulls with jeweled dust, they appear distinguished like the personifications of Dharma. All the cows in Vrindavan are expansions from Goloka. So these are not ordinary cows. And we study, Drishti Prabhu and myself were done, we were discussing the importance of understanding Siddhanta. And we know there's elaborate explanation in the Chaitanya Charitamrita how the Lord expands, and Balaram is his first expansion, and then the different expansions that come. So these cows are not ordinary cows. So how beautiful is this visual of Krishna and his cows? And we can take heart the importance of cow protection, and also take heart how however a living entity reciprocates with Krishna, Krishna reciprocates accordingly. So these cows have so much love for Krishna that the milk is flowing from them, just like the mother gopis, their milk is flowing from them. And how fortunate they are to be able to have Krishna's association. So this is the beauty of reciprocation with Krishna. So all of us, we can actually, through the chanting of the holy name and through hearing this beautiful katha about Krishna, about Vrindavan, we could develop that desire within our heart. Yes, I want to be in Krishna's world. I want to go in Krishna's world. So we're given the chanting of the holy name, and we're given the hearing process. So it's very important that we hear through someone who is connected through the disciple succession, that we take shelter of a spiritual master, and by following his instructions, by chanting the holy name, we can come closer to Krishna. So I want to continue reading from the light of the Bhagavat. This is will be text number 23. This is so beautiful how Prabhupada presented this. The cows that follow the Lord within the forest move slowly because of their heavy milk-laden udders. But when the Lord called them by their specific names, they at once became alert. And as they hastened toward him, their milk bags overflowed and poured milk on the ground because of affection for the Lord. So there's no scarcity in Vrindavan. It is understood from the scriptures, like the Brahma Samhita, that in the spiritual abode of the Lord, the houses are made of touchstone, and the trees are all desire trees. So what are the houses made of? And what are the trees? Desire trees. There the Lord is accustomed to tending thousands and thousands of kamadhenus, cows able to supply unlimited quantities of milk. And all the houses, trees, and cows are qualitatively non-different from the Lord. So who gave us this wonderful philosophy? Is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. The Lord and his paraphernalia in the spiritual abode are one and the same in quality, although there are differences for the pleasure of the Lord. In the material world also, we have various paraphernalia for our pleasures in life, but because all this paraphernalia is made of matter, it is destructible at the end. We've all had that experience. Like, first my washing machine broke down because it was made of matter. And then now my dryer's breaking down. You know, and there's so much trouble in the material world. In the spiritual sky, there are the very same varieties of pleasure, and they don't need washing machines and dryers there. There's beautiful breezes and rivers. And their clothes are always clean anyway. They can just change their clothes by desire. But they're all meant for the Lord. There the Lord alone is the supreme enjoyer and beneficiary, and all others are enjoyed by the Lord. I'm just going to stop here for 1 minute. So this Harikatha, this transcendental knowledge, it's meant to like take your pulse. Just like the Ayurvedic physician, he'll take your pulse. He'll feel what your pulse feels like. Or if you get acupuncture, there's a place that's really sore. So when you're hearing this, if it says, there the Lord alone is the supreme enjoyer and the beneficiary, all others are enjoyed by the Lord, then if you feel some tinge within, you could understand, oh, I still have some work to do. I still think I'm enjoying. The Lord is served there by all kinds of servitors, and both the master and the servitors are the same quality. The spiritual variegatedness is displayed by the Lord when he descends at Vrindavan, and we know that the Lord descends with his personal staff of cows, cowherd boys, and cowherd maidens, all of whom are but spiritual expansions of the Lord himself for his own pleasure. Thus, when called by the Lord, the cows are overwhelmed by joyous affection, just as a mother's breast overflows with milk when the child cries for it. So all these cows, all these boys, all these girls are actually expansions of Krishna for his own pleasure. All of us living beings are differentiated expansions of the Lord, but our affection for the Lord is submerged within us. It's like underwater, artificially covered by the material quality of ignorance. Spiritual culture is meant to revive this natural affection of the living being for the Lord. The ingredients of fire are always present in safety matches, and only mild friction is needed to ignite a fire. Similarly, our natural affection for the Lord has to be revived by little culture. Specifically, we have to receive the messages of the Lord with a purified heart. So that's what Prabhupada wanted when he wanted to establish the Krishna consciousness movement. He wanted to give people the opportunity to have the fire of affection for Krishna be ignited within their heart by proper association and proper culture. For spiritual realization, one has to purify the heart and know things in their true perspective. As soon as one does this, the flow of natural affection begins to glide towards the Lord. With the progress of this flow, one becomes more and more self-realized in various relations with the Lord. So according to one's relationship, one begins to flow to the Lord. And sometimes when Krishna plays his flute, that the call of the devotees within the heart is so strong that according to each individual entity, some are stunned, some are melting, some are being drawn, forgetting their children, forgetting the milk boiling on the stove. The Lord is the center of all the affection of all living beings, who are his parts and parcels. When the flow of natural affection for the Lord is clogged by desires to imitate his lordship, one is said to be in Maya or illusion. So being in Maya illusion just means that you're just clogged, It's like you have a sink and there's some gunk that gets in there. And you've got to get the gunk out. So these things that we consider very dear to us, they're kind of like gunk. And if we chant the holy names with enthusiasm, Trinadapi Sinechana Turodapi Sahishana, Amani Damadina Kirtanaya Sada Hari, more humble than a blade of grass, more talent than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to give all respect to others, then our heart will become purified. Maya has no substantial existence, but as long as its hallucinations go on, their reactions are felt. The Lord, by his causeless mercy, dispels the reality of life so that our hallucinations may be completely dissipated. So it's interesting, too, because Prabhupada wrote this book. It was printed many years later. But during the 60s, actually, people would take different kind of intoxications, whether it was chemical or something natural growing within the forest, and have hallucinations. And they thought those hallucinations were spiritual. But they were just another hallucination inside a hallucination. So actually, there was a yogi that I met many years ago who had guided me to Srila Prabhupada. He was actually Monavati. He didn't speak, but he was from Ramanujacharya, actually, background. But he would write in a chalkboard. And I went to him one time, and I had been around the devotees, but I hadn't completely taken shelter. And I said to him, Babaji, I'm so tired of going here and there looking for a spiritual master. And he had been a wonderful guide for me. And he wrote on the chalkboard, where is your tilak? You are Gaudiya Vaishnava. You should go. You should go to Srila Prabhupada and take shelter of Srila Prabhupada. So when we go to Srila Prabhupada, we go to Srila Prabhupada's representatives. Then all of a sudden that dust on the mirror becomes cleared. And that desire to chant the holy name is implanted within our heart. How strong is that desire depends on if we avoid committing offenses and we're willing to render service and to hear. So this hearing process is so very important. So I want to just do a quick review before the time is out. One, I wanted to stress how fortunate we are to be able to read this 10th canto, and by studying canto 1 through 9, we've come to a philosophical understanding that allows us to understand that Krishna and his friends and cows, they're not ordinary personalities. And how this vision of the rainy season, and we'll come to the autumn season, is an invitation to come to the spiritual world. It's a little glimpse, a small glimpse of what is going on there. How this will go into the autumn season, which is the beginning of the Purva Rag, and we'll be reading about Krishna playing his flute and the reactions of all the living entities, and which will later lead into also the different wonderful pastimes that take place in the autumn, which we will be honoring Govardhan Puja. And I'd like to also, again, go over how much affection Krishna has for his cows and the cows have for Krishna. and that same affection Krishna has for all living entities. Last night I was reading from the Brihad Bhagavatam, written quickly in relation to this verse, how when Gopakumar returns, the that time his name is known as Sarup, and Krishna sees him. He comes running, he grabs him by the neck and he hugs him, and they're both crying. And Krishna is so happy that he's come that Krishna actually faints. And then everyone is very upset that Krishna's lying on the ground and he's crying, and is this some demon that's come from Kamsa? But this shows how much affection Krishna has for all living entities. And we actually have affection for Krishna. So if we, instead of facing Maya, we turn our head to Krishna, like we know there's that Krishna Surya Saya, Maya Aya Antakata. Krishna is like the light, Maya is like darkness. But we have turned our head away from Krishna. So if we turn ourselves back to Krishna, then we too can enter into the beautiful pastimes of Krishna according to what our particular relationship is with Krishna. And as we progress in our devotional service, we pray to Krishna we will have the association that will be able to nurture our particular attraction to Krishna. And my last comment that I would like to make is the importance of cow protection and the importance of supporting those different organizations or those different devotees that are offering cow protection and are trying to give ahimsa milk to Krishna. Krishna Chaitanya came by the other day saying that they had more milk cows now, and his daughter was helping to milk the cows. And I just wanted to reflect on that because Irmila had been speaking about Vanashram and Vanashram and the different societies. So Krishna Chaitanya's daughter, she has grown up around cows. So she's very enthusiastically milking the cows, calling them by their names and caring for them. And Lila Shakti's daughter, Lalita Sundari, she's grown up around the altar and around the deities. So today she's dressing the deities. So we can actually see on a when we look a lot in Grihastha life how the children do follow what the parents are doing if we have stable families. So I just wanted to share that. And I wanted to end now, and I want to thank Irmila for helping me with all the wonderful descriptions of Krishna and the cows. Irmila? Oh no. Oh Krishna. Oh Krishna. So the announcement is a very important announcement. Our own Madhavananda and Krishna Kun, who are normally in Jagannath Puri preaching, but because of the COVID, they were not able to go back. So they took shelter in Mayapur. And at this time, they are both very, very sick with COVID, and they have had to cancel their different activities. So we're asking all the devotees, please, please, please pray for these most wonderful, wonderful Vaishnavas that have enlivened all of us. And pray to Radha Golokananda, who he very nicely sat in this seat and talked to. Thank you, Hare Krishna.